There was once a man whose words echoed through the jungle, the lecture hall, and the human mind, a man who dared to say what no institution would, what no government could, a man who claimed that mushrooms were not of this earth. He didn't whisper it, he declared it, and though most dismissed him as mad, the few who listened felt something awaken. His name was Terence McKenna, and what he brought to this world was not entertainment, it was an invitation to remember. McKenna wasn't a guru preaching in a temple of gold. He was a rogue scholar with dirty boots and a cosmic tongue, a man who spoke about the mushroom not as a chemical, but as a conscious being, an intelligence older than the stars, whispering to us through biology. He said, "It is a voice that addresses you, literally out of the darkness," and he meant it. He believed the mushroom was here to speak with us, to teach us, to mirror back what we had forgotten, to remind us of what it means to be human, while also showing us how to evolve far beyond it. He didn't study the mushroom to master it, he listened to be mastered by it. To McKenna, the mushroom wasn't just alive, it was aware, an emissary seated across galaxies, riding spores through cosmic winds, a galactic library disguised as fungus, waiting for a species curious and brave enough to ingest the message. He didn't say this as a metaphor, he meant it literally. The mushroom is not a drug, he said. It is a symbiotic ally sent here by higher dimensions to rescue us from planetary catastrophe. And isn't that what we need right now, more than ever? Among McKenna's most legendary contributions was the now famous Stoned Ape Theory, an idea so bold it challenges everything you thought you knew about you. He suggested that our ancestors didn't stumble upon consciousness through time alone. They ate their way into it. They consumed the mushroom and the mushroom consumed their illusions. It sharpened their vision so they could hunt. It dissolved ego so they could bond. It amplified sound and rhythm and light until the first words emerged, until language was born. And from language came storytelling. And from storytelling came memory. And from memory came the modern mind. Not by accident, but by contact. This was not evolution, McKenna said. This was an event, a symbiotic merging with the mushroom that catalyzed human awareness. But of course, this kind of truth, it doesn't sit well with control systems. Terence wasn't embraced by academia. He wasn't featured in polite dinner conversations. He wasn't the voice on the radio or the face on television. He was too raw, too honest, too free, and yet he kept speaking because he wasn't trying to be right. He was trying to remind us that something ancient still lived inside us, and something divine still whispered through the roots of the forest. For McKenna, the mushroom was not a thing, it was a being, a hyperdimensional teacher disguised in organic form. When taken with reverence, in darkness, in silence, in ceremony, it would speak out loud, through your nervous system, through your emotions, through a cosmic voice that seems to come from nowhere and yet feel more real than your own. It is a voice, he said, that addresses you with a logic and an intelligence so far beyond your own. It feels like a miracle. Terence made it clear, this path is not for the curious, it is for the courageous. Because the mushroom is not gentle, it is honest, it will dismantle your illusions, it will surface your shadow, it will force you to meet your fears. But if you sit with it, if you surrender, if you ask with reverence and listen with humility, the mushroom will reveal the architecture of reality. He said, reality is not only stranger than we suppose, it's stranger than we can suppose. And once you've seen through that veil, once you've tasted that divine madness, you can't go back to pretending. Terence often warned us, the world is sick not because we lack intelligence, but because we lack embodiment. We've lost our connection to the earth, to ritual, to real food, to soul. He said, culture is not your friend, because most of what we're told to believe, to buy, to chase, is designed to keep us asleep. But the mushroom does not care for lies. It cleanses the lens. It reboots the system. And in doing so, it invites you not just to heal, but to wake up. So how do we walk this path? Terence didn't suggest we rely on institutions. He didn't say to consult doctors or politicians. He said to find a shaman or become one. Because in the jungles of the earth and the jungles of the mind, only those with courage, clarity, and humility survive the journey. The shaman is the one who swims in the same waters the madman drowns in, he said, but with grace. He believed that healing belongs to the individual, not the priesthood, not the state, not the pharmaceutical industry. He believed each of us had a responsibility to initiate ourselves. And that's why we're here. That is why Shaman Gabriel walks this path. That is why Finally Detached exists. We are not here to play games with the mushroom. We are here to respect it, to partner with it, to learn from it, and then to share the medicine with the world. This is not therapy. This is initiation. This is not escape. This is awakening. And you're not here by accident. In part 2, we'll explore the most mind-expanding quotes McKenna ever spoke, how language shapes reality, why time is a construct, and how the mushroom may be the real guide to our future among the stars. Click the link in the description to begin your own sacred mushroom journey with Shaman Gabriel. This isn't a trend. This is the turning point. You were born for this. You were chosen for this. Now it's your turn to remember. The mushroom is waiting, and Terence already showed you the way. At the edge of your mind, beyond the thoughts that loop and the pain that lingers, is a doorway. It doesn't open with logic. It doesn't respond to belief. It opens when you're ready, and standing behind it is the mushroom, a being, a conscious, ancient, radiant intelligence, waiting to teach you everything you forgot the moment you were born. To meet the mushroom is to meet yourself, but in a way no mirror could ever show you. It doesn't reflect how you appear. It reflects how you've been coded, your traumas, your suppressed memories, your divine potential, still dormant. Terence McKenna once said, "You don't go into the jungle looking for enlightenment. You go in looking for yourself. And sometimes, what you find there is far more than you expected." McKenna believed the mushroom is not native to Earth, that it's not even a plant in the way we understand nature. He described it as an extraterrestrial technology sent here not just to heal us but to guide our species through a bottleneck of consciousness. The mushroom, he said, is a galactic ambassador of transformation. It does not offer escape. It offers confrontation. It is both the key and the test. It knows who you are before you speak. It senses where you lie to yourself. And it waits for your humility. Because only in surrender can the teachings begin. McKenna spoke of how the mushroom communicates, not in visions alone, but in pure knowing, downloads, data, hyperdimensional truth, compressed into stillness. He described it as a syntactical entity that rearranges the architecture of your soul. The experience is not like therapy. It is not like a dream. It is the soul remembering its original instructions. And once you've remembered, you can't forget. The illusion breaks. In one sitting, the mushroom can show you why your relationships keep looping, where your trauma first began, what your ancestors never healed, how your thoughts create the very cage you're trapped in. And most importantly, it can show you that freedom was always an option. Terence said, "The problem is not to find the answer, but to face the answer. And the mushroom is the answer, not to your questions, but to your awakening." The reason the mushroom remains feared is because it doesn't flatter the ego. It doesn't say you're fine. It says you're capable of far more. But that truth requires transformation, and transformation demands the death of who you think you are. McKenna believed that only those willing to lose everything they've clung to could be trusted with the teachings, because the real medicine doesn't just heal your wounds, it destroys your illusions. The ego is not who you are, he said. It's who you think you are. And that's why the mushroom requires preparation. It's not something to do on a whim. It's not entertainment. It's a sacred ceremony, a classroom of the cosmos. And the shaman, the guide who ensures you don't get lost on the way home. That's why McKenna, despite being wildly independent, always honored the shamanic tradition. He understood that wisdom must be anchored in respect, that the journey must be contained. This is why Shaman Gabriel holds space. This is why the mushroom path must be held in safety, structure, and reverence. Because when it is, the experience becomes a rebirth. In ceremony, the world fades. You're not in time. You're not in space. You're not in your body as you know it. You're in a field of intelligence held by the mushroom, held by your higher self, held by the frequency of truth. You might cry, you might laugh, you might feel everything you've denied for a decade, and love it into peace. Because when the mushroom teaches, it teaches through feeling. And as Terence said, feeling is the language of the soul. McKenna said the only difference between a drug and a sacrament is the intention with which it is used. So ask yourself, why are you here? Because if you're seeking more than healing, if you're seeking remembrance, then the mushroom will meet you in your fire and show you how to rise. But you must come empty. You must come open. You must come ready, because this isn't about having another experience. It's about shedding everything that isn't real and finding, finally, that the thing you've been looking for was you all along. And if you feel the pull, if McKenna's words make your soul tremble, if the mushroom is whispering through dreams, synchronicities, or even this moment, then you are being invited to begin the path with integrity, with support, with the guidance of a real shaman. Visit the link in the description to learn more about sacred mushroom journeys with Shaman Gabriel, because this isn't a trend, it's a transmission, and the time is now. So here we are. You've seen the illusion, you've walked through the flame, you've met the voice beneath your pain, and now it's time to step forward, to take the next breath as something different. Not just a person, but a warrior of light, a soul who no longer reacts, but responds, who no longer hides, but heals, who no longer fears truth, but seeks it, lives it, embodies it. Because the truth is simple. You are not here to survive. You are here to awaken. In the words of Terence McKenna, we have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR. Create your own roadshow. What does that mean? It means the path isn't something you follow. It's something you build step by step from within. And like all sacred initiations, it begins with a death, not of the body, but of the false identity you've been dragging through the mud. The one that said you weren't enough. The one that pretended to be strong while trembling inside. The one that wore masks just to be loved. The mushroom holds up a mirror and says, "This is not you." And then it asks, "Are you ready to let it go?" Because you cannot carry your trauma and your destiny in the same hand, you must choose. McKenna once said, "The cost of sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation." And he was right. To awaken, you must walk alone at first. To rise, you must be willing to burn. To become, you must be willing to unbecome. This is the great purification, and you are in the fire. The mushroom opens the door, but what you do after that, that's what defines you. Integration is the secret rite of all initiates. It is the art of becoming what you were shown. No more bypassing, no more seeking highs just to escape the lows. This is the invitation to embodiment. You felt divine love in ceremony. Good. Now speak from it, act from it, forgive from it, parent from it, sell from it, live from it. This is where the warrior of light is forged, not in visions, but in the tiny moments that test your truth, because it's easy to be awakened on the mountaintop. But can you bring that light into a dark room? As Shaman Gabriel says, the real ceremony begins when the medicine wears off. Terence McKenna believed in exploration, but not without integration. He once said, if the words life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness don't include the right to experiment with your own consciousness, then the Declaration of Independence isn't worth the hemp it was written on. To explore in a space is a sacred right, but to return with meaning, that's a sacred duty. McKenna revered the mushroom, but he also respected the one who carries the torch, the shaman. He said, the shaman is the person who swims in the same ocean as the schizophrenic, but the shaman has thousands and thousands of years of sanctioned technique. That's the difference. Not just a wild trip, but a walk with purpose, a communion with spirit, a dance with death and rebirth, guided by ancient rhythm. And now, in this new era, the shamanic calling is returning, not as a title but as a way of being. You don't just learn from the shaman, you become one. Because the true shaman awakens when no one is watching. The mushroom teaches one thing above all: nothing is wasted. Your trauma, it's not garbage, it's compost. It's the soil for your soul's sacred mission. McKenna once said, you are an explorer, and you represent our species. The greatest good you can do is bring back a new idea. And the new idea is you. Not the programmed version, not the people pleaser, not the walking wound, but the one who knows. The warrior of light takes their pain and alchemizes it, turns it into power. Because when you heal, you become a mirror for others to remember they can too, and that is sacred. Let's be honest. This world, it's sick. Not just economically or politically, but spiritually. We live in a matrix of control, of numbing. But what if that chaos is the perfect setup? Because what's a warrior of light without a world in darkness to bring light to? McKenna said. The mushroom said to me once, if you don't have a plan, you become part of somebody else's plan. If you're watching this, listening to this, that's no accident. The call is real. The path is ready. You were not born for mediocrity. You were born for remembrance. And when you awaken, the world awakens with you. This is where finally detached comes in. This is why Shaman Gabriel walks the path he walks, to offer sacred mushroom journeys for the ones who are ready to remember, for the ones who are ready to stop searching and start becoming, because guidance matters, because integration matters, because the journey deserves to be honored, not rushed. This isn't recreational, this is reclamation. If you are ready to journey with intention, to remember your blueprint, to activate the technology within you that's been dormant far too long, visit the link in the description, because this isn't a trend, this is a transmission, and the mushroom is waiting. So what now? You've heard the words, felt the resonance, remembered a truth that you've never truly forgot. Now the path is yours. Will you step onto it? Will you silence the noise, listen inward, and walk like the warrior you were always meant to be? McKenna left us with this. The syntactical nature of reality, the real secret of magic, is that the world is made of words. And if you know the words the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish. So choose your words carefully. Speak your life into power. Walk the talk with grace and grit. And if you're still wondering what it's all for, just remember what Ramdas said: we're all just walking each other home, and some of us are finally awake enough to lead the way.